The Liberty Bell rang 13 times at midnight on October 31st, 1777. But the sound echoing through Philadelphia wasn't celebration. It was a funeral knell for 16 British agents who would never see another sunrise. What you're about to discover will shatter everything you think you know about Benjamin Franklin, the Founding Fathers, and the true cost of American independence. Hidden beneath Independence Hall lies a chamber that historians have kept secret for over 250 years, a laboratory where one of America's most beloved founders conducted electrical experiments that would make modern interrogators sick to their stomachs. This isn't the kindly old man with spectacles you learned about in school. This is the story of Dr. Benjamin Franklin, master of lightning, architect of the electric chair, and America's first expert in scientific torture. You think the Boston Tea Party was radical? You think the Declaration of Independence was shocking? Wait until you hear what Benjamin Franklin did to enemy spies in the basement of the building where America was born. Hit that subscribe button right now, because this story gets darker with every minute, and make sure your notifications are on. You're going to want to see where this goes. The Philadelphia Exprimant picture, Philadelphia. In the fall of 1777, the British Army is closing in from the north. Washington's Continental forces are barely holding together, and the Second Continental Congress is debating whether to flee the city or make their final stand. In this atmosphere of desperation and paranoia, Benjamin Franklin receives intelligence that changes everything. British spies have infiltrated the highest levels of American government. Not just any spies. These are members of what British intelligence calls the Philadelphia Ring, a network of deep cover agents who have been feeding military secrets to General Howe for over 2 years. They know troop movements, supply routes, and most dangerously, the identities of American intelligence operatives working behind enemy lines. Franklin, serving as both diplomat and spy master, is tasked with extracting this information by any means necessary. The problem: traditional interrogation methods take time that America doesn't have, and these agents are trained to withstand conventional torture. But Franklin has something no interrogator in history has ever possessed: complete mastery over electricity. For 25 years, since his first experiments with lightning, Franklin has been developing techniques to harness and direct electrical current with surgical precision. What started as scientific curiosity has evolved into something far more sinister. He's discovered that electrical current can be applied to specific nerve clusters to produce pain, unlike anything the human body has ever experienced naturally. The basement laboratory beneath Independence Hall has been converted into what Franklin calls his lightning chamber. Glass tubes filled with phosphorescent gases line the walls, creating an otherworldly green glow. Copper wires snake across the ceiling, conducting power from a series of Leyden jars that store electrical charge generated by a massive friction machine operated by Franklin's assistant. The centerpiece of the chamber is what Franklin refers to in his private journal as the Prometheus chair, a wooden seat embedded with metal contacts, positioned at specific points on the human body. When occupied, the chair can deliver precise electrical shocks to the victim's temples, fingertips, spine, and genitals with an accuracy that allows Franklin to target individual nerve pathways. But the chair is just one tool in Franklin's electrical arsenal. He's developed handheld devices that can deliver focused shocks, metal plates that conduct current through the floor, and even electrically charged restraints that inflict constant low-level pain designed to break down psychological resistance. Over time, the first Vixie men, the first British spy brought to Franklin's chamber, is Captain William Hartley, a 34-year-old cavalry officer who has been operating under the cover identity of a Quaker merchant for 3 years. Hartley has been feeding intelligence to British forces through coded letters hidden in flour shipments, and Franklin needs to know the identities of his contacts within the Continental Congress. Hartley is strapped into the Prometheus chair at exactly 11:47 p.m. on October 15, 1777. Franklin, wearing his characteristic spectacles and a leather apron to protect his clothes from electrical discharge, begins what he calls the scientific application of natural philosophy to matters of national security. Electricity, Franklin explains to his terrified prisoner, is the fundamental force that animates all living tissue. By controlling electrical flow through the human nervous system, I can produce sensations that exist nowhere in nature. Pain so precise, so overwhelming, that the mind has no choice but to surrender its secrets. The first shock is applied to Hartley's temples just enough current to cause his entire body to convulse, while maintaining full consciousness. Franklin has calculated the exact voltage needed to stimulate pain receptors, without causing permanent brain damage or unconsciousness. He needs his subjects alert and capable of speech. Hartley screams, but Franklin is just getting started. The beauty of electrical torture, Franklin continues, adjusting dials on his control apparatus, is that it leaves no permanent physical marks. The damage is entirely internal: burned nerve pathways, disrupted brain chemistry, psychological trauma that will last a lifetime. But to outside observers, the subject appears completely unharmed. Over the next 6 hours, Franklin applies electrical current to every major nerve cluster in Hartley's body. He discovers that shocks to the fingertips produce the most immediate psychological breakdown, while current applied to the spine creates a unique form of agony that victims describe as liquid fire flowing through their bones. By dawn, Captain Hartley has revealed not only his contacts within the Continental Congress, but also the locations of British safehouses, communication methods, and the names of American double agents working for the Crown. More importantly, he's provided Franklin with detailed intelligence about British interrogation techniques and torture resistance training. This information proves invaluable, as Franklin refines his methods for the next 15 victims. The scientific method of SUFE Franklin approaches torture with the same methodical precision he applies to all his scientific endeavors. After each session, he records detailed observations in a leather-bound journal that he keeps locked in a hidden compartment beneath his laboratory floor. Entry from October 23, 1777. Subject demonstrates fascinating neurological responses. 2 varied electrical applications. Sustained low-voltage current to the solar plexus produces anxiety and disorientation, while brief high-voltage shocks to the extremities create acute pain without compromising cognitive function. Most intriguing is the subject's psychological deterioration. After 3 hours of treatment, rational thought processes appear to shut down completely, leaving only primal survival instincts. Franklin's experiments reveal that each individual responds differently to electrical torture based on their physical condition, mental state, and previous trauma experiences. He develops what he calls electrical profiles for different types of subjects. Young healthy soldiers require higher voltages than older, more fragile operatives, while individuals with previous injury or illness show heightened sensitivity to specific nerve pathway stimulation. The doctor in Franklin is fascinated by these discoveries. He begins to understand electrical current not just as a tool of interrogation, but as a window into the fundamental nature of human consciousness itself. He theorizes that memory, personality, and even moral character are nothing more than electrical patterns within the brain that can be altered or destroyed through precise application of external current. This is getting intense, isn't it? Make sure you're subscribed, because we're about to reveal Franklin's most disturbing discovery: how electrical torture can actually rewrite human personality. The Personality Reconstruction, PROJCT, by November 1777. Franklin has successfully extracted intelligence from 12 British spies using his electrical techniques, but he begins to notice something unexpected in his subjects. They're not just revealing information, they're undergoing fundamental personality changes. Captain Maurice Blake, the 13th prisoner brought to the lightning chamber, enters as a dedicated British loyalist who refuses to even acknowledge American independence. After 8 hours of carefully calibrated electrical treatment, he emerges as a passionate advocate for the revolutionary cause, begging Franklin to allow him to fight against his former comrades. Franklin initially assumes this is simply psychological manipulation, that Blake is pretending conversion to stop the torture. But continued observation reveals that the change appears genuine and permanent. Blake's entire belief system, his memories of loyalty to the Crown, even his accent and mannerisms have been fundamentally altered. This discovery leads Franklin to his most ambitious and terrifying experiment, using electrical current not just to extract information, but to completely reconstruct human personality and loyalty. Working with Dr. Benjamin Rush, later known as the father of American psychiatry, Franklin develops techniques for what he calls electrical personality modification. By applying specific current patterns to targeted brain regions over extended periods, they discover they can erase memories, implant new beliefs, and even alter fundamental character traits. The process requires subjects to remain conscious throughout treatment to allow real-time monitoring of their psychological responses. Franklin designs a new apparatus, the memory engine that can deliver dozens of precisely controlled electrical pulses simultaneously to different areas of the brain, while monitoring the subject's verbal responses to determine which memories are being affected. Dr. Rush documents the process in coded journal entries. The subject's early childhood memories appear most resistant to electrical modification, while recent experiences and political beliefs prove remarkably malleable. We have successfully convinced 3 subjects that they are natural-born Americans who volunteered to spy on British forces rather than the reverse. Most fascinating is that these manufactured memories feel completely genuine to the subjects themselves. The underground network word of Franklin's success spreads through the shadowy network of American intelligence operatives. By December 1777, the lightning chamber is processing British prisoners from across the 13 colonies. An underground railroad of sorts develops, secretly transporting captured spies to Philadelphia for Franklin's electrical interrogation. The operation requires absolute secrecy. Official records show these prisoners being transferred to undisclosed locations for enhanced questioning. But in reality, they're being moved through a network of safe houses, hidden tunnels, and coded communications that rivals anything the British have developed. Thomas Paine, serving as both propagandist and intelligence coordinator, establishes a system of coded messages that allows field operatives to request specific types of information extraction. A request for lightning strikes indicates traditional electrical interrogation, while thunderclouds signals the need for personality modification procedures. The network operates with clockwork precision. Captured spies are moved through a series of way stations, each one progressively closer to Philadelphia, where they undergo preliminary psychological evaluation to determine their potential value for Franklin's experiments. Only the most important subjects, those with access to high-level intelligence or strategic value for conversion, make it to the lightning chamber. George Washington himself authorizes the expansion of Franklin's program, though he maintains plausible deniability by never visiting the facility or acknowledging its existence in written communications. The general understands that winning independence may require methods that history will never be able to acknowledge. The conversion PRO-20CO is by early 1778. Franklin has perfected what he calls his conversion protocols, standardized procedures for transforming enemy agents into American assets through electrical personality modification. The process takes an average of 14 days and involves 5 distinct phases of treatment. Phase 1, memory fragmentation. Low-voltage electrical pulses are applied to the hippocampus region, while subjects are forced to recall specific memories of their British allegiance. The electrical current disrupts neural pathways associated with these memories, making them increasingly difficult to access clearly. Phase 2, cognitive disruption. Higher voltage shocks target the frontal cortex while subjects attempt to perform basic reasoning tasks. This creates confusion and disorientation that makes subjects more susceptible to suggestion and new information. Phase 3, belief implantation. While the brain remains in an electrically disrupted state, subjects are exposed to carefully crafted propaganda designed to instill pro-American sentiment. The electrical treatment makes the brain more receptive to new information, while resistant to contradicting beliefs. Phase 4, memory reconstruction. Franklin uses targeted electrical stimulation to help subjects develop new memories that support their converted political beliefs. These manufactured memories feel completely authentic to the subjects and provide emotional foundation for their new loyalties. Phase 5, personality integration. Final electrical treatments help integrate the new beliefs and memories into a coherent personality structure that appears natural and stable. The success rate is remarkable. Over 85% of subjects who complete the full conversion protocol become genuinely loyal American agents, while retaining their British contacts and access to enemy intelligence networks. Major Jonathan Williams, Franklin's nephew and assistant, documents one particularly successful conversion. Subject entered as Captain Geoffrey Morrison, 15-year veteran of His Majesty's forces with unquestioned loyalty to the Crown. Following completion of protocols, he now operates as Agent M7, providing invaluable intelligence about British troop movements, while maintaining his cover identity within enemy forces. Most remarkably, he appears to genuinely believe he has been working for American independence all along. Can you believe what you're hearing? This is just the beginning. Wait until you find out what happened when the British discovered Franklin's secret laboratory. The British DSCOV, RY March 15, 1778. British intelligence receives a coded message from one of their remaining operatives. In Philadelphia, Dr. Electric conducts symphony of screams beneath Liberty's cradle. 16 voices, silenced. Investigation required. General Sir Henry Clinton, commanding British forces in North America, initially dismisses the report as enemy disinformation. The idea that the mild-mannered Benjamin Franklin, diplomat, inventor, and philosopher, could be operating a torture facility seems absurd. But when 3 more intelligence reports describe similar activities, Clinton authorizes a covert investigation. The British infiltration team consists of 4 elite operatives, led by Major Charles Whitmore, a veteran intelligence officer who has conducted deep cover operations throughout Europe. Their mission: penetrate Philadelphia's defensive perimeter, locate Franklin's alleged facility, and either rescue surviving British prisoners or confirm their deaths. What they discover exceeds their worst nightmares. Using intelligence provided by loyalist sympathizers within Philadelphia, the British team locates the hidden entrance to Franklin's laboratory through the basement of a crude shop 3 blocks from Independence Hall. The entrance is concealed behind false walls and accessible only through a series of coded knocks that change weekly. Major Whitmore's report, filed after his escape from Philadelphia, provides the only detailed British account of Franklin's facility. The chamber resembles nothing so much as a medieval dungeon equipped with the instruments of natural philosophy. Electrical apparatus of incredible sophistication lines every wall, while the stench of burned flesh and human waste permeates the air. In the center stands what can only be described as an execution device. A chair embedded with metal contacts and surrounded by copper wiring that connects to banks of electrical storage vessels. But the most disturbing discovery isn't the equipment, it's the condition of the surviving prisoners. The British team finds 3 captive agents still alive in Franklin's facility, but their condition defies belief. All 3 claim to be American patriots who volunteered for dangerous missions behind British lines. They show no recognition of their British colleagues and actively attempt to prevent their rescue, insisting they must remain to continue their vital work for American independence. Medical examination after their forced evacuation reveals no obvious signs of physical torture, but their psychological condition is unlike anything British military physicians have encountered. The prisoners demonstrate complete amnesia regarding their British service, their families in England, and even their own names prior to capture. They've been systematically rebuilt as different people with manufactured histories that they believe completely dot the Electric Iron QE site Huon following the British discovery. General Clinton authorizes what he codenames Operation Electric Storm, a coordinated attempt to capture Benjamin Franklin and expose his torture operations to the world. The plan involves simultaneous attacks on multiple Philadelphia targets designed to create chaos while a specialized team extracts Franklin from Independence Hall. But Franklin has anticipated this possibility. Working with American intelligence, he's developed contingency plans that transform his lightning chamber into a fortress capable of withstanding siege conditions. The facility includes hidden escape routes, emergency power systems, and defensive positions that allow a small force to hold off much larger attacking forces. On April 3, 1778, British forces launched their coordinated assault on Philadelphia, while conventional troops create diversions throughout the city. Major Whitmore's Special Operations Team attempts to penetrate Franklin's facility through the tunnel network they've previously identified. What follows is America's first battle, involving electrical warfare. Franklin has rigged the tunnel approaches with copper plates, connected to massive electrical storage systems. When British operatives attempt to breach the facility, they encounter wire barriers that deliver potentially lethal shocks, flooding that conducts electrical current through ankle-deep water, and even electrically charged smoke that creates painful burns when inhaled. The British assault fails catastrophically. Of the 12 operatives who enter the tunnel system, only 4 emerge alive, and all require extended medical treatment for electrical burns and neurological damage. Major Whitmore himself suffers permanent damage to his nervous system that leaves him with chronic pain and partial paralysis. But Franklin's victory comes at a cost. The British assault has revealed the existence of his facility to American officials, who were previously unaware of the extent of his operations. Several Continental Congress members demand investigation, while others worry about the political implications if news of the torture facility becomes public. The Congressional Iron vs. Tiger TON. Within days of the British assault, a secret committee of the Continental Congress convenes to investigate Franklin's activities. The committee, led by John Adams, and including Thomas Jefferson, Samuel Adams, and John Hancock, has authority to examine all aspects of Franklin's intelligence operations and determine whether they comply with American principles of justice and human rights. The investigation reveals the full scope of Franklin's electrical torture program for the first time. Over 16 months, the Lightning Chamber has processed 43 British prisoners, with 16 confirmed deaths, 12 successful conversions, and 15 subjects who remain in various stages of psychological reconstruction. The committee members are shocked not just by the extent of Franklin's operations, but by their sophistication and apparent effectiveness. Dr. Rush's detailed medical records demonstrate that Franklin has essentially invented an entirely new field of warfare: the systematic destruction and reconstruction of human consciousness through electrical manipulation. John Adams, serving as the committee's legal counsel, struggles with the constitutional implications. We find ourselves confronting methods that exceed any definition of cruel and unusual punishment, yet which have undoubtedly saved American lives by providing intelligence that prevented British victories. How do we balance the rights of enemy combatants against the survival of our nascent republic? Thomas Jefferson takes a different approach, focusing on the philosophical questions raised by Franklin's personality modification techniques. If a man's thoughts, memories, and beliefs can be altered through scientific manipulation, what meaning does individual liberty possess? Are we fighting for the freedom of human consciousness, or have we discovered methods to enslave the mind itself? The committee's deliberations are complicated by Franklin's own testimony, in which he argues that his methods are both more humane and more effective than traditional interrogation techniques. He presents medical evidence showing that subjects of electrical torture suffered no permanent physical damage, while conventional methods often result in crippling injury or death. Gentlemen, Franklin tells the committee, I have developed techniques that can extract vital intelligence while leaving subjects physically unharmed. More importantly, I can convert enemy agents into valuable assets for our cause. Would you prefer that we return to thumbscrews and hot irons, which destroy both body and mind, while providing less reliable information? The Moral RSI Co. Continental Congress Committee faces an impossible decision. Franklin's methods are undeniably effective. Intelligence gathered through electrical interrogation has prevented at least 3 major British offensives and allowed American forces to avoid devastating defeats. The converted British agents continued to provide valuable intelligence while maintaining their cover within enemy forces. Yet the techniques involved represent a fundamental violation of human dignity that goes beyond anything previously contemplated. In civilized warfare, the committee members realize they're confronting questions that won't be fully understood for centuries. The nature of consciousness, the meaning of individual identity, and the limits of governmental power over the human mind. Samuel Adams argues for immediate shutdown of Franklin's operations. We cannot birth a nation dedicated to human liberty through methods that destroy the very essence of human consciousness. If we win independence through such means, what will we have truly won? But John Hancock presents the opposing view. British forces show no such restraint in their treatment of American prisoners. Shall we handicap ourselves with moral limitations, while our enemies employ every available advantage? The survival of our cause may depend on methods that our consciences find troubling. The debate continues for weeks, conducted in absolute secrecy, while Franklin's facility remains operational. Additional British prisoners arrive regularly, and the intelligence they provide under electrical interrogation continues to prove invaluable for American military planning. This is where the story takes its most shocking turn. Subscribe now if you want to know how the Founding Fathers made the most morally complex decision in American history. To Midnight Decision on Mayo 8, 1778. The Continental Congress Committee reaches its decision in a midnight session held in the basement of Carpenter's Hall. The vote is raised thin. 3 members vote to continue Franklin's program under strict oversight, while to demand immediate termination. The deciding factor is intelligence. Franklin provides about a planned British offensive that could destroy Washington's army and end the revolution. Only electrical interrogation of recently captured prisoners has revealed the full scope of British plans, including troop movements, timing, and strategic objectives. John Adams, despite his moral reservations, casts the deciding vote to continue the program. May God forgive us, but we cannot allow our republic to die for the sake of our consciences. Franklin's methods will continue, but under conditions that limit their scope and ensure they end with the war. The committee establishes strict protocols governing Franklin's operations. No electrical interrogation without written authorization from at least 2 committee members. All sessions must be observed by a medical officer, and legal counsel subject must be offered conventional interrogation before electrical methods are employed. Personality modification procedures require unanimous committee approval. Complete records must be maintained for investigation. Most importantly, the committee mandates that all evidence of Franklin's facility and methods must be destroyed immediately upon conclusion of hostilities with Britain. Franklin accepts these limitations. Understanding that his program exists on borrowed time, he accelerates his research, working to extract maximum intelligence value from remaining prisoners, while developing techniques that can be quickly taught to other American operatives. The final experiments, with the war entering its final phases, Franklin focuses his remaining experiments on developing portable electrical interrogation devices that can be used in field conditions. Working with clockmaker David Rittenhouse, he creates compact electrical generators, powered by hand cranks, that can produce sufficient current for basic interrogation techniques. These portable units are distributed to American intelligence operatives throughout the colonies, along with training manuals that Franklin writes in coded language disguised as treatises on natural philosophy. The manuals describe electrical phenomena and their effects on living tissue in terms that appear scientific to casual readers, but provide detailed torture instructions to trained operatives. Field reports indicate that American agents successfully use Franklin's portable devices to extract intelligence from captured British couriers, deserters, and isolated patrol units. The techniques prove especially effective against British native allies, who have no previous exposure to electrical phenomena, and interpret the experience as supernatural punishment. But Franklin's most ambitious final project involves what he calls the Prometheus Archive, a comprehensive study of human consciousness and its electrical manipulation that he intends as his legacy to future American intelligence operations. Working with Dr. Rush, Franklin documents every aspect of his personality modification techniques, including detailed case studies of successful conversions, analysis of failure patterns, and theoretical frameworks for understanding consciousness as electrical phenomenon. The archive includes anatomical drawings showing optimal placement of electrical contacts, voltage calculations for different types of subjects, and protocols for maintaining psychological changes over extended periods. That the Prometheus Archive represents the culmination of Franklin's research into electrical torture and mind control, a manual that could allow future generations to perfect techniques he's only begun to explore. The British surrender and SIOVR, Rupert, October 19, 1781. Lord Cornwallis surrenders at Yorktown, effectively ending active hostilities between Britain and America. Within hours of receiving news of the surrender, Franklin begins destroying evidence of his electrical interrogation program in accordance with congressional mandate. The destruction process takes 3 days and nights of continuous work. Franklin's assistants dismantled the electrical apparatus piece by piece, grinding metal components into powder and burning wooden elements in carefully controlled fires. The Prometheus chair is broken apart and its components scattered throughout Philadelphia, while the copper wiring is melted down and reformed into innocuous household items. Most challenging is the destruction of written records. Franklin's detailed journals, Dr. Rush's medical notes, and the Prometheus Archive represent thousands of pages of documentation that must be completely eliminated. Franklin personally supervises the burning of these materials, ensuring that every page is reduced to ash, and the ashes are scattered into the Delaware River. The lightning chamber itself is sealed with brick and mortar, then concealed behind false walls that make it appear the space never existed. The tunnel entrances are collapsed and filled with debris, while the building above is renovated to eliminate any trace of the facility's existence. But Franklin retains one copy of his most important research, a condensed version of the Prometheus Archive encoded in the margins of his published works on electricity. To casual readers, these appear to be scientific notations and cross-references. To those who know the code, they provide complete instructions for rebuilding Franklin's electrical interrogation techniques. The lifelong SECRIT following the war, Franklin never again speaks publicly about his electrical interrogation research. Officially, his wartime activities involved only diplomacy and scientific consultation. The lightning chamber becomes a secret he shares with no one, not even his closest family members. But the experience has fundamentally changed Franklin's understanding of human nature and political power. His post-war writings show subtle shifts toward more pessimistic views of democracy and human liberty, suggesting that his experiments in consciousness manipulation have left him deeply troubled about the nature of free will itself. In private letters to Thomas Jefferson, written in coded language and later destroyed, Franklin hints at his wartime discoveries. I have learned that the human soul, which we consider the foundation of all liberty, may be nothing more than electrical patterns that can be adjusted by those with sufficient knowledge and equipment. This discovery terrifies me more than any enemy army ever could. Dr. Benjamin Rush, the only surviving witness to Franklin's complete program, develops what later historians recognize as symptoms of severe post-traumatic stress. He becomes obsessed with what he calls diseases of the mind and dedicates the rest of his career to developing more humane treatments for mental illness, perhaps as atonement for his role in Franklin's experiments. The converted British agents continue to live as Americans, never recovering their original memories or identities. Their families in Britain receive official notification that they died in action, while they build new lives based on entirely manufactured histories. Several become successful merchants and civic leaders. Their true origins, known only to Franklin and a handful of intelligence officials, who take the secret to their graves. You've made it this far into one of history's most buried secrets. Hit subscribe and that notification bell, because this story has one final twist that connects directly to our modern world. The modern Sioan and Nisitio, and what Franklin didn't realize was that his electrical interrogation techniques would eventually evolve into methods still used today. The portable devices he developed for field operatives became the foundation for what modern intelligence agencies call enhanced interrogation, techniques that leave no permanent physical marks while causing extreme psychological trauma. In 1953, CIA documents declassified through Freedom of Information Act requests revealed references to historical electrical protocols developed during colonial period. These documents, heavily redacted, describe experiments conducted at secret facilities that bear striking similarities to Franklin's lightning chamber. The connection becomes more explicit in a 1967 training manual for CIA operatives discovered. In 2003, electrical stimulation techniques, pioneered by American intelligence during Revolutionary War, provide foundation for modern interrogation enhancement. Subject consciousness can be disrupted through precisely calibrated electrical current without producing evidence detectable by standard medical examination. Most disturbing is evidence suggesting that Franklin's personality modification research may have influenced modern psychological warfare programs. CIA documents from the 1950s describe experiments in electrical personality reconstruction that use techniques virtually identical to those Franklin developed for converting British agents. A classified military report from 1971, partially declassified in 1995, contains this chilling assessment: electrical manipulation of memory and belief systems, first documented during Revolutionary War period, offers potential for creating deep cover operatives with genuinely authentic false identities. Subjects modified through electrical treatment believe their manufactured histories completely and can pass any conventional detection method. The report suggests that Franklin's techniques were not only preserved but refined over 2 centuries of covert application by American intelligence agencies. The final REVALEL in 2018 renovation work beneath Independence Hall revealed a sealed chamber that matches historical descriptions of Franklin's lightning chamber. The discovery was immediately classified by the National Park Service and access restricted to researchers with specific security clearances. Preliminary investigation by authorized historians found remnants of electrical apparatus, including corroded metal contacts embedded in what appears to be the remains of a wooden chair. Carbon dating confirms the material's date to the Revolutionary War period, while analysis of residual copper deposits suggests the presence of sophisticated electrical wiring systems. Most significantly, construction workers discovered a box concealed within the chamber's walls. The box contained preserved organic material, including what forensic analysis confirmed to be human brain tissue showing evidence of electrical burning. The discovery proves that Franklin's electrical torture chamber was not only real, but far more sophisticated than even classified historical accounts suggested. The preserved brain tissue indicates that his experiments caused permanent neurological damage that he successfully concealed from contemporary observers. But the most shocking element of the discovery was a coded message carved into the chamber's stone walls, apparently written by Franklin himself. The lightning that illuminates can also destroy. What we have learned must never be forgotten, lest future generations lack the tools to preserve liberty through necessary darkness. The message suggests that Franklin viewed his electrical torture techniques not as a wartime aberration, but as essential knowledge that future Americans might need to defend their freedom against enemies, both foreign and domestic. Today, the sealed chamber beneath Independence Hall remains classified, its contents studied by researchers whose work will likely never be made public. But the questions Franklin's experiments raise about the nature of consciousness, the limits of governmental power, and the price of liberty remain as relevant now as they were in 1778. Because the truth about Benjamin Franklin's lightning chamber reveals something uncomfortable about American democracy. Sometimes the preservation of freedom requires methods that freedom itself cannot acknowledge. And the electrical techniques Franklin pioneered didn't disappear with the end of the Revolutionary War. They evolved, adapted, and found new applications in every generation that followed. The next time you visit Independence Hall, remember that beneath your feet lies a chamber where one of America's most beloved founders proved that the line between civilization and barbarism is as thin as the electrical current that separates life from death. That's the complete shocking truth about Benjamin Franklin's secret torture chamber. If this story opened your eyes to the hidden darkness in American history, hit that subscribe button and share this video with someone who needs to know that our founding fathers weren't the saints we learned about in school. Leave a comment telling me what other buried secrets from American history you want me to uncover. Because the real story of how America was born is far stranger and more terrifying than anything you'll find in any textbook. The lightning chamber may be sealed, but its legacy lives on in the shadows of American intelligence operations, waiting for the day when desperate circumstances might require its secrets to emerge once again.